great line from Matt Taylor from Chain. It was, I remember when I was young, the Beatles turned me on. They really blew my mind.
Well, I remember when I was young, the Beatles turned me on. They really blew my mind.
In the generation of the 60s, music was wild, it was raucous, but in this country, it was a backyard industry. Everything was about imports back then. So I saw an incredible opportunity, but it never really had a business plan, and it's really been a dream come true and a dream that's still continuing. The first bands I managed were all blues orientated or very music orientated. Carson, Healing Force and The Chain. And when two of those bands broke up within 2 weeks of each other, I thought, this is not right. And I realised then that these guys needed to have creative control. They needed to have input into developing their careers. And that's why Mushroom started.
Thoughts of my home, with many I was lonely, and now with a dream in my mind, I am searching for love.
If you think the evolution of Mushroom Records was a 3-year business plan with accountants, bank managers, etc., it wasn't. It was just heart and soul, gut feel, out of frustration. Back then, the Australian music business was very backyard. A lot of it was very shoddy. There seemed something that was completely remiss, and that was the creative freedom. If you wanted to have a real artist, you had to let the creative juices come. Our artists are our strength. And some of the greatest artists take time. I can't believe, looking back at the first 6 acts we signed to the Mushroom label, we had a band called Mackenzie Theory. And Rob Mackenzie was very intelligent, and I used to call him the Professor. Now, this was an instrumental band. Who in their right mind would sign an instrumental band? I still wonder why I did, but it gave the label real credibility. Real musicians used to look at the label. Alberts in Sydney had their in-house production team, most of the greatest production team of all time in Australia, Vander and Young. They were studio kings. I was a live king. Most of the original Mushroom acts were all acts that played live all the time. Melbourne was raging, whether it be Broadmeadows, Frankston, Ringwood, Ormond, Box Hill, St Kilda. It was vibrant. By this stage, we really had a feel and really had Melbourne down, and that's where Sunbury really came into play. Sunbury was such an important part of the development of Australian music. It was Australia's Woodstock, and the most important thing that Sunbury really did was the first 2 years, it was all Australian artists, and I think it was the birth of Australians celebrating a bit with their own. The initial couple of years of Sunbury was really when Mushroom started. There were so many small labels that came and went. We wanted to make sure that people knew we were here. And The drama that I had to create the triple album, it was a very expensive package, but I wanted people to know that Mushroom was a label that was here to stay and was to really develop and take artists, hopefully, to the world. And timing and good luck has got a lot to do with life, as we know. And bang, here came Countdown, Bring It On. And who was the band that looked like incredible in colour? The Skyhooks.
Ego is not a dirty word. Ego is not a dirty word. Ego is not a dirty word.
The Skyhooks were most probably a band I managed, the band that put Mushroom Records on the map. And yet by the time we had all this enormous success and everyone thought, oh, Mushroom Records is on fire, we're killing. Well, let me tell you, all that first album did was save our bacon and literally pay our bills. So really, the timing of Countdown, it really did not only put Australian music on the map, it broke so many international acts.
A group like yourself that has gained immense popularity in your own country and then in America and right throughout Europe and now in Australia.
We just showed people that there are alternative routes to success.
Festival had all the big international independent labels. They had Ireland, the labels that inspired me, Chrysalis, then later on Virgin, but without any doubt, they had the most amazing label called A&M Records. Festival was run by an incredible man called Alan Healy. He was most probably like a godfather to me. He backed me all the way, and he really opened up the doors internationally for me. I started to realise, as much as they'd given me such great backing and everything else, that we needed to stand alone. We needed to start distributing international music because of relationships I was building up. And that was the rebirth of the name Liberation. And Liberation actually went through EMI. And I remember a senior person at Festival saying to me, this will be the end of Mushroom. Well, it wasn't the end of Mushroom because it developed so many relationships for me. For a small country, big in size, and New Zealand, it became a very, very popular touring market. And I was right on top of that. And eventually, Liberation became very successful. And they say Michael Gudinski in Australia was one of the first with the 360 model. Unlike the big companies, we actually did have a merchandising company. We did have a publishing company. It was a long struggle, and had I not had the touring and the merch and these other things, we wouldn't have got through it. Simple as that. You know, I'm quite excited about the future. Artists have got much more control of their careers, which I've always thought was a good thing. It was the basis of Mushroom Records in the first place. And the world's become much more song-orientated. But let me tell you, there's still some big careers out there. People are really thriving on the history of Australian music. It's so good to see really young people listening to the relevant music that stands up. And I guess it's no different in 2 generations' time for some of these great artists that I've been involved with to be looked at like Tchaikovsky or Beethoven. That's what I'd like to think.